Hey, hey!
Hello.
If you're joining us for the first time, hi, I'm Em,
And I'm Tima. Welcome to Bed Buds.
where we fall down the internet and pop culture rabbit hole, go on a couple of nerdy deep dives along the way, and explore the wildest stories from our friends and the internet.
Mm-hmm.
We are almost done with Love is Blind. Finally, episode 12 is out, so that's what we're going to be talking about today.
We have so many feelings, so many thoughts.
So many thoughts, and I'm sure y'all do too. This was actually wild. Nothing went how I thought it was gonna go. I guess Johnny and Amy.
Yeah, Johnny and Amy was pretty predictable to me.
Yeah, nothing else.
Nothing else.
That
Well,
was
No, because going off of our predictions from the last episode, we both got 2 out of 3
okay.
on our predictions. Yeah.
I feel like I got everything wrong.
You didn't. You got 2 out of 3. I got 2 out of 3.
Okay, maybe I made predictions and then I gaslit myself because I feel like, or I guess the producers did, right? Because I feel like I had predictions and then watching it I was like, no, but they're not. No, but they will. Oh no, but maybe. And then I was like, ugh! My face the whole time, just jaw dropped.
You're right though. They did the way they turned out, the journey to the decisions.
Yeah.
That's what shocked me. I was not expecting that.
I think at the end of the day, though, I will say this. Every couple, I think, ended up where they needed to end up.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy the way that things unfolded, but I think that Jimmy and Chelsea should not have been together. Adie and Clay should not have been together. Johnny and Amy were good together. So everything happened how it needed to. But wow, was it a journey?
Yeah, it's a journey.
So should we just get into it?
Yeah, I want to talk about this so bad. Let's go for it.
I know you also took notes this time.
Yes, she's prepared.
Yes, we have so many notes. I was like, let me just take a couple of quick notes on Jimmy and Chelsea's conversation specifically, because I feel like that's the one that is pretty controversial. Some people are more on Jimmy's, some people are more on Chelsea's. So it's I'll just take a couple quick notes so I can back up my points. And I ended up literally writing down word for word their entire conversation. Quote, like Jimmy says, then Chelsea says. So yeah, this will be fun. What did you think?
Okay. Well, I just want to start off by saying that I think Jimmy made the right decision.
Yes.
I also really respect him for telling her that before they got to the altar.
Agree.
He knew what he needed to do and he did it without hesitating. So, well, I guess he did hesitate a bit.
Yeah.
Well, debatable. But yeah, I think the beginning of that conversation is where I'm kind of looking at Jimmy a little weird.
Okay.
I thought it was very leading. So this is what he says. Okay.
All right. We also have quotes down.
Yeah, some of them. I mostly paraphrased. But okay. So Jimmy says, "I love you so much, and I have no doubt in my mind that you're my person. But are we going to get married? Because I haven't even gotten a grasp at where you're at."
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then Chelsea, she goes in and says, kind of a long-winded explanation leading to "now I am ready." Okay. And then after that, Jimmy was like, "I actually don't want to go to the altar."
Yeah.
Which I thought was fair.
Yes.
Fair, but wild.
I agree. The first time I watched it, and I've watched this conversation back 3 times. Yeah. The first time I watched it, I was literally like I said, jaw on the floor. Yeah. Detached from my body. I was like, what? Did not see that coming. Because I think at the end of last episode, we were like, oh, it's so wild that, Jimmy is so sure and has been so sure this whole time. And yeah, he's asking Chelsea the right question because we don't know where she stands.
Yeah. And
I did not think at any point that Jimmy was going to say, I am not sure. So that was shocking.
It was very leading. And I think it's pretty minor. So I'm not that angry at Jimmy, but I just kind of wish he maybe might have started that off differently.
Yeah, for sure. And it was confusing because, to be fair, they just had a really nice date in a theme park. One of the only times that they've been on screen and we haven't seen them arguing.
Yeah, true.
So it was like, again, these producers are producing, like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're watching this date and we're like, oh, like, you know, maybe they'll be able to work it out. Like maybe the tough times are behind them and they're having a really good time.
Right.
No.
They're having a very bad time.
Yeah. I will say, so again, I watched this back multiple times. No, now knowing that Jimmy was going to say no, when I watched it back, I was like, oh, okay, because my recollection was like, oh, he's saying he's 100% sure and he just wants to know where she's at. But watching it back, he was like, you know, how are you feeling? He says, we had a tough argument a week ago, but I love you so much. I have no doubt that you're my person. I've put my best foot forward with this, but are we going to get married? Because I don't even have a grasp at where you're at, and we haven't talked about it at all. So I don't have a clue. So I don't, like, the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, is he just literally asking her so that she answers first and then he can be like, gotcha. But I honestly think that he was just like literally like trying to say like, let's have the conversation.
Okay.
Because I think he made up his mind that he was going to say that he didn't want to go to the altar and he had to like bring up the conversation somehow.
Yeah.
And, you know, when she says like in that long-winded way at the end, like, you know, I feel good about where we're at. He says, I love you to death and I want a relationship with you and I want us to work so bad, but I don't want to go to the altar. I can't.
Yeah.
When he said this, honestly, I'm taking this as like he still wants a relationship with her.
Yeah, because he's saying that, right? He's saying that he still wants to continue with her, just not that step yet.
Yeah.
Which, it's fair. Like, again, I don't think anything Jimmy intended here was wrong. It was just the beginning of that conversation, which was leading. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I also think like it's funny because we talk about like I think Jimmy and Clay on the surface, there's similar things going on of like both of them have done this process and are now at the end of this process. Spoiler alert for Clay, they're at the end of this process saying I'm not going to get married.
Right. Yeah.
But I think I'm looking at Jimmy and Clay differently because I've felt that Jimmy in all of this has been like I will marry you, and then at the end the things that he's seen from Chelsea are just so insurmountable that he's like, I still want to date you, but we can't get married right now.
Right.
Whereas I feel like Clay was the opposite, where AD was giving everything and he was like, AD was not the problem at all. It was just literally he couldn't wrap his mind around the concept of marriage.
I think you're definitely on point with that.
Yeah. Thanks. Always.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I think that he was like in this conversation still being like, listen, I do literally still want to be with you. I still love you. Like, I'm not going to the altar with you right now.
Right.
And I think she could have walked out of this conversation still being in a relationship with him. And I think she self-sabotaged so hard as she's been doing throughout this whole process.
Okay, you know what? I do want to say there was a moment where I thought she was going to handle this well.
Really?
In the very beginning, you can see that she's hurt, right? She's taking a moment and I'm thinking, oh, okay, she's thinking about what to say. Yeah. She's probably telling herself, don't be too reactive. Don't go crazy. This is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
No,
that's not what happened.
She was taking a moment to hype up that craziness.
Yeah.
And like know exactly what she's going to say.
She somehow turned this whole thing back on him still. She said, I don't think you ever wanted to propose to me. I think you've been wasting my time. Like, I don't think you ever wanted to go through with this. And he literally says, you don't think I ever wanted to get married? Because what Jimmy has been showing this whole time is he was trying so freaking hard to make it work. Yeah. Despite her constant questioning.
Yeah.
And so at the end of this, for him to be saying, I love you so much and I've tried so hard, but I just can't take this step right now. For her to be like, you never wanted it is so crazy. And it's so clear that she's just like so much in her own world, in her own narrative.
Yeah, I agree. She just kept going off on him. And like you said, blaming everything on him. And at one point she says, let me read it word for word.
Okay.
This part was hilarious to me.
Yeah.
While she's on her rant, right? She's like, oh my God, like I've been put through the ringer with you for you to just throw away everything. based on this one argument, blah, 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 blah. And then she says, should I have broken up with you the first time you called me clingy? And then you hear Jimmy immediately said, yeah.
That was so funny.
And then she just like goes up. She just keeps going.
Yeah.
As if she didn't hear that part.
It was so crazy to me the way that she keeps saying like it was one issue, it was one argument. We as the viewer know it's not because we've seen multiple arguments.
Yeah.
Jimmy says it's been actually 5 or 6 issues that have really hurt my feelings, which also I loved hearing that. I will say like I think I've been really enjoying seeing Jimmy like use his words like in the conversation that they had earlier, the argument that we saw about his friend. He said like you're overstepping my boundaries. Like I have really been enjoying seeing that. I don't think we see that a lot with men on TV. I think we could use a lot more of it.
That's true. He's
and
very
Jimmy's
clear.
not even doing that much. Like to be fair, the bar is very low.
Yeah.
But it's just like nice to see that.
Yeah.
Throughout all of this, like I think he's just being like really honest and she's trying to make him someone that he's not. Like when she says, I've been put through the ringer by you, I'm always walking on eggshells around you because I'm afraid to tell you how I feel when you hurt me.
Okay, that part was very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because I would think that's the way Jimmy would feel.
I agree.
Right? It's like she's taking what she knows Jimmy must be feeling about her and projecting it back on him.
It's so weird. I totally agree. It's very much like I feel this way and I feel sorry. Oh my gosh. No, I agree. It's totally just like insecurity.
Yeah.
I think because she literally says, I've been walking around eggshells around you. I'm like, when have you not told him exactly how you're feeling? Even when you're literally making up lies to support like the weird things that you're feeling.
Yeah.
And so he says, like what? And she literally goes, like surprise Pikachu face, like doesn't have anything to say for herself. And then immediately it responds with, sorry. I wrote in my notes, Chelsea, Pikachu face.
Pikachu. They should just rename Pikachu.
Or I guess I wrote Pikachu.
Okay.
Pikachu face. But then she says, you're so set on not going because of this one argument and it's blowing my mind. Like you can't even support the fact that like he literally says, what have I done?
She can't answer anything. Like we've seen this as a trend with her throughout this whole season. She asks a bunch of questions. Jimmy answers immediately.
Yes.
Okay.
Every time.
He asks one question. She skips it. She skips her answer. She doesn't answer it at all. And she moves to another leading question or just like a lie.
Or she interrupts him when he's talking.
Oh my God.
He's talking. He's literally, again, answering her questions like she always does.
Yeah.
And she stops him and he says, I'm not done talking. She says, no, I need to interrupt you right now.
She did that 2 times.
Yes.
In that exact way. I need to interrupt you right now.
That alone would make me lose my mind. Like you're aware that you're interrupting me and you're like, no, but I'm allowed to do this right now because like my point is more valid than yours.
Yeah.
That would drive me crazy.
I feel you on that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Also, I want to touch on a little bit, like, again, the whole friend thing in all of this, because I think that's, like, a really big crux of this argument. I mean, he kind of calls it out as, like, the big thing that made him really start to have doubts. And so he says, like, when we had the argument a week ago, like, you basically betrayed my trust. Like, you brought up this thing that I told you in private. And she basically takes it as like you care more about your friend than you do about me.
Yeah.
Which I feel is really unfair because I don't think it's about the friend as like a romantic interest. Like I think she needs to remove from her mind like the fact that he's been with this friend. Like I think in general, if I tell you a secret about anybody at all in my life, my friend, my mom, my dog.
Yeah.
Like, you are not allowed to repeat that to anybody, especially not on camera.
Yeah. I completely get his side of that. I think the first time I watched it, I was taking Chelsea's side a little bit on that part specifically, because it did seem like he was defending his friend's feelings over her feelings. But then the second time I watched it, I realized that wasn't really his point.
Yeah.
He was saying that she betrayed him and betrayed his trust, which is completely valid. it didn't even have to be about this friend. I think even if it was another secret that he told her in confidence and she just shared that to the whole world, essentially, it would have been the same conversation. Like, oh, you betrayed my trust. That was the point. So, yeah.
And not only like once, she keeps in this exact argument shooting herself in the foot. She keeps saying the same thing over and over again. Like, she literally says, oh, well, I'm sorry you had a little secret love triangle. And then later he's like, I'm not telling your deepest, darkest secrets on camera. And she said, oh, I'm sorry that your deepest, darkest secret is you fucking your friend. Like, and when she said that last time, he was like, thank you for reminding me why I'm making the right decision.
That was the moment where he was like, ooh, she has learned nothing. She's not listening.
Yes.
I'm out.
And again, we've said this before, her whole stance on this is wild because of her relationship with her ex.
Okay, so this is the thing about Chelsea. I genuinely believe her when she says, like, I have not hung out with him. I don't talk to him, blah, blah, blah. I believe that. But the thing about her calling him right after they got engaged.
Bro, she FaceTimed her ex-boyfriend the minute they got back.
What really confused me about that part is I don't think that she did that because she was close to her ex. I
bet you're right.
I think she did that as a way to show Jimmy, like, hey, look, I'm close with my ex. I'm a cool girl, so you can be close with your friend too. That's totally fine.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Exactly.
I bet you're right, honestly.
I think that was the game. Because after that, when she says, like, oh, I haven't hung out with him, I haven't talked, that's like, okay, well, he's not really your best friend.
Yeah, no, then why did you represent him that way?
Exactly. So this is all just like a game to you. Like,
yeah. I bet you're totally right when he was like, oh, my friend, like, I'm best friends with, like, these two girls. I bet you she was like, oh, that's totally fine. I'm best friends with my ex. Like, we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you're so right.
And the phone call was just like a very calculated move on her part.
Yeah, I bet you're right. Yeah, I don't know. Also, I think like with this whole conversation about like, you know, Jimmy being friends with someone who he's like had some sort of relationship with, I think that is up to every single person to decide like where their line is with that. Like, I don't think it would bother me personally in this exact context of like, it's somebody who you slept with once a very long time ago who is now your friend and you've just been like strictly friends since. Okay. Like I wouldn't have a problem with that. I could see people having a problem with that though.
Yeah, like I definitely would have a problem with that, but I wouldn't say that I didn't.
Exactly. And that's the thing
the issue
for me
here.
Is it's like you have to set those boundaries from the beginning if that's a problem for you. And the other person has the absolute right to then set their own boundaries and at the beginning of this relationship say, you know what? Actually, like my friend is super important to me. We don't know what they've been through together. Like, you know, like friendships are real. Friendships are like something that people won't give up.
Of course.
And I think he would absolutely have had the right from the beginning to say, okay, I'm really sorry that you feel that way. Yeah. If you feel that there's no like give in this at all, then like I can't be with you. Like I'm not going to cut out my friends.
Yeah. But she didn't want that to happen because she wanted to be picked so badly.
Yeah. And so they never had that conversation. So instead what we got is him being blindsided by her having a problem with it. And then now weeks into their relationship, which in the real world would be like months or years, right?
Right.
Her being like, actually, I do have a problem with this. Cut her out of your life, which is just not going to happen.
Yeah. That's, and the thing is like, she couldn't even bring up that conversation in a civil way.
No.
Maybe things would have been different.
You fucked her.
God. You fucked her. If she just had this conversation with him and was like, you know what, in the beginning I thought I would be okay with it, but now I'm feeling differently. How do you feel about that? What can we do here?
Yeah.
You know, maybe he would have been like, hey, okay, I understand that. I can take a step back from my friend. I still want to be friends with her, but maybe I can take a step back.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like Jimmy would have probably said something like that.
Maybe, yeah.
If she brought it up in a civil way, but the way she did it, like no one wants to deal with that.
Nobody would deal with that.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? That's crazy. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, at the end of this, she just walks away. Again, I think she self-sabotaged here. I really do believe that like this conversation could have ended in a way that they were both still together.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
me too.
Yeah, unfortunately that, or I guess,
well, we don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see the reunion.
Wait, what's your prediction? Do you think that they picked up something after that conversation, or do you think it was done?
You know, I think they might have actually, just because I've seen their TikToks. And I feel like in her TikTok, she's talking a lot about how she's like been in therapy and she watches these episodes back and is like really embarrassed and how she's like learned a lot.
Okay.
Which she could say if she's single too, but it just felt to me like she's like seen Jimmy's perspective or something.
Okay.
And then him, like the way that he has talked about her in TikToks and in interviews has been very like, yeah, I said she's clingy because like she was being that at the time, but you know, they're not putting each other down at all.
Okay.
In any of these, I feel like there might be something there. Also, she keeps filming TikToks where she's wearing truckers hats.
I've seen that
which
flowing
is,
around, yeah.
It's not a style choice that we've seen her make. People's style can change in a year. But I'm feeling like, is this some sort of subtle, like, either Jimmy's my boyfriend and I'm wearing his hat, or I have a new boyfriend who wears trucker hats and I'm wearing these on camera.
Wait, did Jimmy ever wear trucker hats?
Maybe not.
I don't think he did.
I feel like he would own some.
Maybe, yeah, he does seem like the type.
Anyway, it's like a very random thing, but I'm like, I feel like trucker hats don't match Chelsea's style at all.
Yeah, that is kind of odd now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I guess I didn't process that. I think they probably did pick up something after that conversation. I don't feel like they lasted, though.
Okay.
Personally, I don't think they lasted. Okay. But who knows?
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's possible, too. But I it's hard for me to believe that they didn't at least try again, because I think that Chelsea definitely still loved Jimmy after that. And I think Jimmy, like I said, went into that conversation wanting to make something work. So I think they totally would have tried again.
Okay.
I have seen a couple of the previews for the reunion. Have you watched any of them?
No, I haven't. I'm keeping it a complete surprise.
We get, again, this is all edited, right? Trailers are like the most produced of all.
Right.
But we do have snippets of Clay saying, you're the love of my life. We have snippets of Sarah Ann and Jeremy clearly holding hands. We have, I guess, Nick Lachey is going to be asking Trevor about his secret girlfriend.
Oh.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be very juicy. And it looks like everyone is there except Laura. Laura, like, does, like, a zoom in.
Oh.
Yeah. But almost everyone there, which is good.
Okay.
I'm excited.
They might actually address some details.
Yes, and it looks like former cast members are coming back from other seasons. And it looks like we've even got some former cast members. Like we see Brett and Tiffany there. We see Janina and Blake. Do you know about this?
I don't even remember them.
This is like a whole Bachelor crossover. Won't get into this too much, but basically Janina was from season 1. Oh, Janina. I think.
No, I remember her. Okay.
And she's now in a very serious long-term relationship with Blake, who was a contestant on The Bachelor. So they're a very powerful Bachelor Love is Blind crossover couple. And I'm like, we need to formally do some sort of crossover show between the two, because I feel like there are people on either show who would be well matched to each other.
Oh, so, that's an interesting.
Production, call me. I have some thoughts. But yeah, so we see like former cast members coming back and asking the questions.
Okay.
Which I'm really happy about, because these Lachey's are not cutting it with their questions. If I have to see Vanessa inserting herself into the drama one more time, I'm going to lose it.
She makes it all about herself. I can't stand her either.
Anyway. So yeah, the reunion looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm excited.
Should we talk about the rest of the episode?
Aidy and Clay.
Yes, and Amy and Johnny. We also see they have their bachelor and bachelorette parties for 2. So sad. We only have 2 couples. But yeah, we have these really whack bachelorette and bachelor parties, if I'm being honest. These don't look fun at all.
I feel like they're very forced. They're very much for the camera.
Yeah.
I don't vibe with them at all. Like, they don't look fun to me. It looks like forced conversation, forced dancing.
Yeah. They're also just like not in like an establishment, which I get for filming purposes. Like, you don't want to go to a club and then give everyone has to sign their release forms.
Right.
But it just is literally like, okay, you two just stand over there on this AstroTurf at like 4 p.m. and dance while there's hot dogs in the background. Like, it's so like, it's just like 5 people on a lawn being like, I'm getting married.
That's so true. It's so empty.
Yes. It's so random. I'm like, this does not look fun at all. But anyway, they have their bachelor and bachelorette parties. AD and Amy talk a little bit about like the birth control thing again. Amy shares that she's still not on birth control, and so they're not having sex, and AD does not believe it.
Yeah.
She's like, there's no way.
Yeah, she was. I think AD was just a bit tipsy and like, really lively, and I think it was harmless. But I was like, why don't you just believe her?
Yeah, I think similar to what Laura said at one point. She was like, I know you two are knocking boots,
right?
And I'm just like, let them do their thing.
Yeah, can you just like
let's not
just because she's like spicy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like a weird thing because I feel like Latinas are always labeled as spicy and promiscuous in that sense, and I don't think that's fair. Yeah,
I could definitely see there's like some stereotypes involved in that.
So I was just like
there's no way that you're not.
Exactly. I was like, why not?
Yeah,
like she could have this spicy personality, whatever the hell that means, and still not have sex before marriage. Like that can coexist. So yeah, it's a little weird.
But yeah, so we learned that they're still not doing anything, which works for them. And AD's like, I could never buy the car before I drive it. The age old saying.
I wish she didn't say that. I love that girl, but
yeah, I hate that.
I hate that saying. Yeah, like just comparing anyone to a car.
Yeah, I agree. But anyway, so then we get to the real meat of this episode, which is AD and Clay and their wedding. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let's set the scene. Oh.
Yeah, I had to take a deep breath because there's a lot I want to say here. Let's set the scene, right? Oh, you want to breathe in? Okay. Breathing exercises. Let's go.
Breathe out.
Man, I feel for AD. One scene that really stuck to me was actually before the wedding. It was when she was talking to her mom. I'm going to read some of it.
Okay.
All right. So AD's mom says to AD, oh, he's not going to be able to talk. Meaning he's not going to be able to talk when he sees you.
Yeah.
He will be able to get out an I do. He's going to absolutely say, I knew that voice on the other side of that wall was for me. I just wish her mom would stop being so delusional and feeding her that delusion. Like, you can literally just say, whatever happens, I'm here for you. We're all here for you. We're your support system.
Yeah.
I hope everything goes well, but we're here for you regardless.
Yeah,
but just like
unfortunate.
I really didn't like that, and this is something that I saw with her mom even the last time they interacted, just feeding AD all this positivity and all of this hope. But when you get let down from that hope, it is such a hard fall.
It really is.
It's such a hard fall because then you feel embarrassed. You feel embarrassed that you didn't live up to what they thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then you start thinking, oh, like, was it me? I did this.
Yeah.
I messed it up, which is exactly what we see with AD at the end of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. I think something that AD and Clay's relationship very much highlighted was what an impact your parents have on you. Like, even as an adult, like your parents' thoughts and feelings when you were a child, but even now, like, really do matter so much.
Yeah.
And you really have to be careful how much influence you give your parents over you. And that just comes with therapy and time, honestly, and like awareness of that. But I think about this a lot when I watch The Bachelor and they have their hometown dates, which is like the final four bring the bachelor or bachelorette home to meet their parents. And what we see a lot of times is the parents, kind of like putting on this like hard front and really like grilling the bachelor and being like, okay, but there's other women involved, and we see the girl trying to be like, no, dad, like I promise, like he's the right guy for me, like I'm being really careful, and they're just like, I can't get behind this, like I can't give you my blessing. So sort of the opposite of that, where they're like being so hard, and it's like you see your kid coming to you being happy, trust them to make a good decision and just say, if anything happens, I'll be here.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the result of those conversations is that relationship gets messed up because the person puts so much stock in their parents' doubt that they start to like trip over themselves. And it almost always ends the relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
And so like here I felt the opposite, where you see throughout this show the progression of AD's confidence in her relationship, where before, like you said it yourself, we saw her get the ick on camera with Clay multiple times. I mean, she really was like, there's certain things I like about him, but like she was very much like, he's not it. Yeah. She was calling him out on stuff like the fact that he wasn't coming home and all of this. And I think after she met his mom, and specifically after she talked to her mom about it, the way that she switched to I'm all in, the way that she switched to, Clay, I know you're struggling, but I trust you. I've got you. What reason has he given to trust you? There's no reason at all. And it's fully just based in like her and her mom together, like just creating their own narrative.
That was really hard to watch because she was very strong in what she wanted. Her instincts were leading her, and she was falling into that, until she got that influence. And then she started thinking, oh, I'm wrong. My instincts are wrong. Yeah. I need to trust these people over myself.
Because they were literally telling her, again, his mom, her mom, they were both basically telling her, like, get out of your own way. Like, just like trust this. Like, this is good. And it was like no. Give him that grace. No.
Like, you need to trust yourself above all else. And so there's a balance there, right? When you trust every single immediate instinct that your body and your mind gives you, you can end up like Chelsea.
I agree. Yeah. Hyper reactive.
But on the other end, if you like slightly trust some of it, but then you're easily influenced by other people and their opinions, you kind of turn into what AD turned into at the end of this show, which is also not really where you want to be.
Yeah.
Because that turns into, like, I'm so wrong, like I did this to myself, I'm not good enough, which she quite literally says after she got rejected.
That was really hard to see. I don't want to say her mom is a bad person, or definitely don't want to say she's a bad mom. Like I really felt nothing but good intentions from her mom, but I just want to like tell AD, don't, people who you love and who love you can still steer you wrong. Like at the end of the day, you just need to like be strong in yourself, because she really, like, you can see that they have a very special relationship, and it just led her down the wrong path.
That's so true.
Speaking of issues with your parents, we finally meet Clay's infamous dad. We see them have just a conversation for the ages. I mean, one thing this show did was really expose Clay's dad for the entire world. That man is never going to be known as this like cool suave guy ever again. But oh gosh, they're talking, and it was so clear to me that like Clay has always wanted his dad's approval in everything. Like the way he was talking to his dad was very much like he was putting on a show.
Right.
Like I was like, oh, this isn't Clay. Like, who is this? His dad talks about, oh, I've always been proud of you and proud of your accomplishments. Like even when you ran track and field, and I was really good at track and field. He talks about all of his accomplishments and how he was like almost went to the Olympics or something. And he's like, yeah. And then, when you were in high school doing it, like I got to live vicariously through you. Never heard somebody actually say out loud that they were living vicariously through their child. That was wild.
Say that, yeah.
But just kept like inserting himself into everything.
Yeah.
And being like, you're successful because I'm successful.
Yeah, that must have been a lot of pressure on Clay growing up. I'm sure he felt that. And I almost feel like the reason Clay over-explains everything is because he's always had to do that towards his dad.
Yeah.
Always had to be like, oh, I'm doing this because blah, 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 blah. So his dad understands him better.
Yeah, like explaining your choices.
Yeah, because that was his source of validation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It was hard to watch. I will say though, and I feel this very strongly again with this entire conversation, AD and her mom, Clay and his dad. Later we see Clay's mom and dad talking. I'm so glad that all of this was shown. I think it's like really important for anybody who has like generational trauma to watch and be like, oh, you know, like, wow. Like, I think there's probably quite a few people who called their therapists or set their first appointment after watching this. So I'm glad it was shown.
This part, I think we're thinking about the same part. Yeah.
Probably.
Wait, okay, I'm gonna read it because I think I wrote down. All right, so this is part of the conversation that Clay's mom and dad have together.
Yeah.
His mom talking about Clay. He wants to be in a long-term relationship. Dad, tell him to meet somebody like you. I met you. Mom, yeah, you met me, but you weren't good to me.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, I think his mom is spot on. I think I agree with her 100%. I think she did enable him a little bit, but in general, like, I think Clay does want a long-term relationship. He genuinely sees that life for himself of like, I have a wife, I have kids, and he genuinely wants to not repeat his dad's mistakes.
Right, I agree.
He very much wants this. I don't think any of that's an act, but he's not ready for it. Yeah. He's not, and he won't ever be ready for it until he works through his childhood trauma.
Yeah, and I think he's on the path to do that.
Yeah. And so I can't hate Clay for not being ready for marriage, for having these complicated feelings, any of that. I absolutely, though, can and do judge Clay again for coming on a show where you were supposed to get married in 4 weeks when you are absolutely not ready for marriage, and you keep bringing up, even at the altar, I just don't understand what this timeline is. It's the time. AD didn't create this timeline.
It's the show. It's that you're on. You signed up for this. like, do you not know what this is?
Oh gosh. And another thing I can judge Clay for is not understanding like the seriousness of this. The fact that AD literally put on a wedding dress for the first time in her life, is wearing this dress, is crying. She's with her family. She's with her friends. She's literally like, I'm getting married.
Let's talk about the actual wedding.
Yeah, let's do that. The
actual I do's, all right?
Yeah.
AD, that girl is so happy. Over her mind, just super, super happy, walking down this aisle, sure that he's going to say a yes. And I do. She gets up there, and the first thing he says is, "Okay, body." You're gonna
when he say said that? I knew
it too. I'm like, you. He said it with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
Okay, body, not oh my god, you are so breathtakingly beautiful.
Yeah.
No.
And then he said about her wedding dress, "You got that shit on."
He said that. I missed that.
Okay, you got that shit on. They're just talking to each other like they're in each other's DMs.
Literally, like in high school.
It was a lot.
You were at your wedding. Come on.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. And I think it was like, you could see like AD like molding herself like to him. Like she's responding with what she's being given.
Yeah.
But that was just like really unfortunate wording. So they actually get up into like the I do's, right? The officiant is talking. He's like, you know, you chose to get up here like sight unseen and, you know, not caring about looks or finances or anything like that. And Clay says, I didn't say all that. And then the officiant keeps going. And then he's like, Amber, AD, like,
and she, okay.
What?
I also just want to touch on how she reacted to that. She just like laughed it off.
Yeah, she laughed it off.
That's such a red flag.
She laughed it off. Well, again, I'm sure for her watching it back, it's like, oh, clearly this is what he was about to say. Right. But at the moment, she's like, maybe this is a funny joke because that's all behind us, and he's going to say yes. And the way that she was like laughing with him, I felt so embarrassed for her. Like she was just so clearly like, she had no concept that he was ever going to say no.
She was in another world completely.
She was so in
and
it.
And again, I partly blame her mom.
Yeah, I agree.
For that.
Yeah.
For like deluding her into thinking that it's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's not okay. And that's okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the officiant asks her first, AD, do you take this man? She gives a speech. about, I see your soul, like you're such a good man, like, even better than you think you are. Basically, like, I know you're scared, but like, I will support you. It's just all of their conversations are basically Clay being like, you're going through a lot with me. Like, it's being with me as a struggle. You're putting up with a lot. And her being like, I got you.
Yeah.
No good, especially not in your vows.
No.
She says, I do. Then it's Clay's turn. And he says, I can't even say this. He says, I don't think it's responsible for me to say I do, but I'm still rocking with you. Are you in fact rocking with me? I'm going to say you're not, though.
Why did you bring her up there?
Why? Why did you look her mom in the eye when you had all of your getup on and say, do I look like a husband? Did you catch that? He said that to her mom while he's wearing his tux. Do I look like a husband? Is this a joke to you?
It is. I mean, he was treating it like that. He didn't understand the seriousness of it all. And he did not consider AD's feelings.
Exactly. And that's the thing with me is like, I believe that Clay is genuine in all this. Like, I really do. I believe that he loves AD. Yeah. I believe that he's not ready for marriage. And he knows that. And to his credit, he's been saying that.
Yeah.
But he did not. He could have done what Jimmy did, which was break it off earlier, especially if he still wanted a relationship with AD afterwards, because it seems like he does, right?
But taking her to the altar after she told you that she does not see herself being with you if you say no at the altar.
Yes.
You still do it.
You've embarrassed her. She's wearing her wedding dress. She's never going to get that back again. Like, even if, not to say she can never get married again, but she's always going to have that, like, thought, that fear of, like, I already put on my perfect dress.
Yeah.
I already did the whole song and dance. Like, my family was already there.
Yeah.
Like, that is so awful. And he, like, took that from her.
Embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. And this whole time, the whole time he was talking, he was just acting like, oh, it's a little hiccup. Like, we'll get through it. No.
He's literally saying to her again at the altar, why does this timeline matter, though? And she literally said, Clay, don't do this.
Yeah.
She's like, Clay, what the fuck? Are you serious right now? That was so embarrassing.
It was so embarrassing. But then, like, I can't stand how she handled it afterwards.
Yeah.
So after the wedding, AD goes up alone by herself, and then Clay goes his separate way as well for a bit. And she's up there, she's crying her eyes out, and then it pans to one of those interview moments where she essentially says, I'm really sad that I wasn't enough for him to get right.
Yeah.
She is putting all of the blame on herself.
Yeah. It's not up to her for him to work through his trauma. And certainly not within 4 weeks when it sounds like he's just started this process. Like, that's not on her at all.
It's not. And when she was with her family, when she was with her mom directly afterwards, she was crying and she's like, I'm not good enough. I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't know why this keeps happening to me.
Yeah. I felt so bad for her.
Yeah.
And Clay, we see him talking to his family, he's talking to his dad. And they're like, are you good? And he's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm okay. And I saw, honestly, like with him and his dad, like, I feel like there's this like mask, like I said earlier, where he's just like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. It is what it is. And he's like talking to the camera a little bit in that moment. And he says, marriage is a big decision. And at the end of the day, I wasn't ready. He's like talking about his finances.
Yeah, that was weird.
He says it's a business decision. And, I don't know enough about her finances.
Okay, can we also talk about the difference between how Clay talks about it versus AD? Because AD, in one of the talking head moments, she says, oh, Clay is a provider. He's a provider. He's not.
He's not.
He's over here talking about your finances and how he doesn't understand your finances. He's not a provider.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have a good grasp of this man.
No.
You just let your delusions take you further and further without actually getting to know who he was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really sad.
Yeah.
But I do think like Clay in that moment, we were seeing him again, like validate, justify his choices. Like, I honestly don't even think that he thinks that about her finances. Like, I think that he was in that moment trying to justify. Okay. He's there with his dad. He's on the camera. He's like, yeah, like you see him like super cool, calm and collected. And then when he went up to AD, some people will say this is manipulation. I think that when he went up to AD, like I genuinely saw the mask slip.
Yeah.
And he realizes like the magnitude of what he's done.
Yeah.
And I think there's a large part of him that's really sad that he wasn't able to get there.
Yeah.
Which again, you're never going to get there in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
You're never going to work through everything that you need to work through in 4 weeks. You just
shouldn't have been on that show.
Yeah. But you can see there's a moment where he's like sitting there and you know he went home after this and was like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Like, what have I done?
I think you're completely right on that, because when he was with AD and he saw her crying, you can tell he was like, oh, I did something really bad to her.
I really messed up.
I really hurt her.
Yeah.
And even though he stood by his decision, I think if he understood the magnitude of what he was doing, he wouldn't have taken her to the altar.
Yeah, I
agree. Think that was the moment he realized it. AD says some really powerful things while she's talking to Clay, and I want to point some of them out.
Okay.
She says, I feel kind of like a sacrifice. You learned so much about yourself and used me to do it. And this one was just in a confessional. I just feel like I just keep getting so fucking close, and I keep doing so much for these men and carrying these fucking relationships, and it's just not fucking enough. I don't know what else to do, really.
Yeah, it is. I think this just happens so often, unfortunately. Like, I mean, AD in the very first episode says, if I see a red flag, I paint my nails red to match. Like, I'm a fix-a-hoe. Like, we can laugh at women for fixing men's red flags or trying to change men. But, like, the fact of the matter is that so many men come into serious relationships expecting to be fixed,
right?
Expecting to be changed. Like, they know that women have been doing this work and they rely on women to help them through that.
It's free therapy.
Like, I'm not a therapist.
Exactly.
You know, like women and men have like the same feelings, the same trauma that they have to deal with. And why do I have to go to therapy and put in all this work and spend years like bettering myself before I'm in a serious relationship for you to just skate through and then think that you can come to me and I'm going to do all this work for you?
Yeah, exactly.
But so many men really do expect that, even if not consciously, like subconsciously, they definitely do.
And it's really unfortunate because when you use someone in your circle as a therapist, you end up taking so much from them and leaving them with nothing. You end up hurting them while you walk away with so many life lessons under your belt, which is exactly what we see in this situation. Clay walks away from this knowing that he can love someone genuinely, knowing all of these things about him, knowing that he's not ready for marriage yet, that he needs to work on himself, blah, blah, blah. AD leaves this feeling like she wasn't enough.
Yeah, this is a net positive for Clay at the end of the day. Like, even if he doesn't, maybe he lost AD and she could have been a soulmate for him.
Yeah.
He leaves with so much. You're so right.
Yeah.
It's really just like unfortunate. And we do see this cycle, and we see, Clay's dad is talking about his own dad, right? Trying to blame his own dad.
Right.
For why he is the way that he is.
Yeah.
And his mom literally says, like, it's on us to break these cycles and like do right by our kids. We can't just keep blaming people.
Yeah.
And so now, like, I say, like, to Clay, like, it's on you to break the cycle too.
Yeah.
And to like work through this stuff on your own. And it's not easy.
Yeah.
At all. And like, he's clearly, again, I have so much like empathy for Clay. And I've been saying that through this whole time. Like, I really do feel like he's been through a lot and it's not easy. But it shouldn't have taken AD for him to recognize that.
That's the real issue here.
Yeah.
It's not that he's a person who needs work, because regardless of that, he is willing to put in the work. He is willing to change, and he can also acknowledge his shortcomings, which is great for any person. The issue here is he's using someone else in order to better himself.
Yeah.
And just taking and taking and taking.
And not seeing the magnitude of these situations on someone like AD, like how the person on the other end is feeling and all of this.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't think that Clay has ever been in a relationship. Like, honestly, the way he has kept saying, I don't ever want to be in a situation where I could cheat. He was saying, he said in this episode when he was talking to his friends before the wedding, like, I've never, chosen somebody over me. He said, I never saw Clay. I was like so far away from love. Like I never thought I could be that guy who would love somebody, but here I am. So like even the concept of loving somebody romantically was so foreign to him.
Yeah.
And it was just to me saying that he had never been in a relationship, like by which I mean like an actual relationship, like not a situationship, like not a hookup, not dating. And then I saw on TikTok, had an interview with Access Hollywood where they asked him, have you ever cheated before? Did you see this?
I did see it.
Yeah. And they said, he said, I've been in situationships where the girl loved me, and maybe I cheated, but I've never cheated on somebody who I've claimed as a girlfriend.
So technically what he's saying is, yes, he has cheated.
Right. It just didn't count because it wasn't a relationship to him.
But it is a relationship. Even if there's no label on it, it's still a relationship. There's still a commitment there.
Yeah. So I think like that was the other thing where he's never been committed, and to go from no commitment at all to within 4 weeks you're committed for life is just bananas. Like, of course he wasn't going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Of course.
But the thing is, like, he should have had that insight beforehand.
Yeah. I think that's the real moral of the story here. Is like he really should have reflected before. I just don't think that he was having these thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't think that men like talk to their friends enough to discuss this stuff. Like I really just think that he was like, yeah, I'm 30 something. I guess it's time.
It's just so careless because throughout this whole process, he just didn't think of her.
Yeah.
He didn't realize what he was doing. And that in and of itself, that obliviousness when it involves someone else is not okay. It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
We can sit here and talk about, oh, like he knows his flaws, he's working on it, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if your obliviousness and your ignorance is going to hurt someone else, that is on you.
Yeah, period, honestly.
Yeah.
That's like the main thing. At the end of the day, he hurt AD, who was like really like an innocent bystander in his quest to unlock his trauma.
I think, yes, we've talked about Clay a lot, but I think AD needs to also work on herself.
Yeah.
Because we've seen some holes in her character. And I'm not saying that's her fault. That's from her trauma as well, I'm sure. But she needs to get to a place where she is fully confident in herself.
Yeah.
And that means an unshakable confidence. Not shook by her mother, anyone else's mother, or any man.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see that beautiful, amazing, kind woman say something like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
She needs to get to a place where she never, ever says that kind of thing about herself again.
Yeah.
So she has work to do too.
Yeah.
And she has to like know that it's not her responsibility to fix anyone. And she needs to stop painting her nails red when she sees a red flag.
Yeah.
That is not the way to do it. You're just going to keep repeating this cycle and getting yourself hurt, because at this point, there is blame on her as well. She's doing it to herself as well. You have to protect your heart when you know enough, and she knows enough.
Yeah, that's true. Well, one good thing about going through all of this on reality TV is I'm sure it's a real kick in the face when you watch it back.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel uncomfortable when I send like an audio message to a friend and I listen back to it and I'm like, is that what I sound like? Like I cannot imagine doing something like this on TV. Chelsea, Jimmy, all of them watching it back. I feel like that is a mirror and a half. And you're definitely going to learn a thing or two about yourself.
Yeah. And I think it's good. It's good to kind of get that wake up call about yourself and be like, okay, I sound crazy. I look really insecure right now, and I need to fix that.
Yeah, I think everyone should go on a reality dating show at least once in their life.
You know what? That would be I would actually do it. I would actually do it just to see. Yeah. Just to watch it back a year later and be like, oh.
I feel like it's definitely enlightening. You know, even if you end up being the villain, it's definitely enlightening. Yeah. Like, oh, wow, I have a lot of work to do. Okay.
Okay, got it.
For sure, yeah. Anyway, should we talk about our happy couple?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Oh, no, we got that. Amy and Johnny deserve more.
I'm sorry.
More
they're
fanfare.
just like so like, all right, you're gonna get married.
No, I loved them.
Yeah.
What I will say is I am, again, looking at Netflix weird for this. Why the heck didn't they show us more Amy and Johnny?
Because they're boring.
No, I don't think they are. Like, they're only they are what we see. Like, that's the thing in all of this. Like, Netflix is choosing what to show us. Like, okay, sure, maybe, like, are you saying that any happy couple is, like, boring?
No, they're not. Because first season we saw Cameron and Lauren, and they're still my favorite couple. I can rewatch them over and over again. This couple are meant for each other, I think. I'm very happy for them. And they seem really happy and they get along really well. It was just boring for me.
But I have to blame Netflix for that. Like, I feel like there's no way that they weren't laughing, joking. We've seen tiny snippets of them laughing and joking, and it seems really cute. And I just think, like, if this is your one success story in this, your show is about marriage. You only had one couple this season who made it to the altar. Like, why aren't we getting the fairy tale fantasy? Why are you just trying to make us care in the last episode? Because I'll tell you, watching their wedding, I was crying, okay?
Oh.
I was crying. And not because I know shit about Amy or Johnny. I'm an empath.
No!
No, but like I feel like when I see genuine tears and emotions, like, it's hard not to get swept up in that. It's kind of like when you see someone yawn, you know. And I was watching them cry and watching her dad and her sister-in-law and all of this, and I was like, they really love each other. Like, I was feeling some type of way, and I was like, I wish I had been able to buy into their love stories sooner, because the only freaking scenes we saw between the two of them was their birth control stuff, which important stuff to show on TV for sure, but where's the love? Like, I wish I had seen that.
I see what you're saying. I think that with the progression of Love is Blind and the new seasons that have come out, it has become more of a production for the audience reaction, rather than something that's genuine and actually focused on marriage, which kind of sucks, because this had a lot of potential.
I feel like that with Married at First Sight too. I don't know if you've watched Married at First Sight, but like, a lot of seasons have the villain to good couple ratio is not enough for me. Like, I want a little bit of drama for sure. We all love drama, but I also want, like, multiple, not just one, multiple success stories, because at the end of the day, like, I'm also watching a romance show,
right?
And the drama's in there to spice it up. But if you just watch 10 episodes of back-to-back unhinged drama, it gets tiring, honestly. I feel like I'm doing emotional labor watching it and, like, dissecting it. Like, I'm like, I need to call my therapist. You know? And I wanted there to be more of, like, real Amy and Johnny moments other than their birth control debate.
That's totally fair. I can see why you would want that,
But I thought their wedding was beautiful. I thought, like, the scenes where her dad and her mom were there and Johnny's sister, I thought were really beautiful. Johnny has, I think, 2 sisters and a brother, and so he had one sister on his side of things, like, wearing the colors of his groomsmen, and then she pulled one of his sisters onto her side as a bridesmaid. Cute. And while they were getting their makeup done and stuff, her dad was talking to the sister and was just like, you're part of my family too now. I feel like I have multiple daughters and my family is growing. And you could tell that the sister was so bought in. Like, she was just like, I love Amy.
Like, she was really
cute.
She was so emotional and genuine.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, you can tell that this was a real relationship. Like, nothing about this looked like it was for the cameras.
Right.
And that was really lovely to see and refreshing. And I wanted more. But a random thing that I thought was really funny, at one point, we hear some voices, you know, saying like, oh, Johnny, you look so good, or whatever. It's a man and a woman talking. And I had the subtitles on, and the subtitle says, man 4, and then, like, text, and then woman 6, text. And then the camera pans up and it's Johnny's mom and dad, and then it, like, puts their name cards on. And I was like, man 4 and woman 6, like, this is how little you care about Johnny and Amy's relationship that we are calling them man 4 and woman 6 in the subtitles.
No.
Yes. I was like, how embarrassing. Stop. I would have been so mad if I were Johnny and Amy. Are you kidding? Anyway, the wedding itself was also lovely. It was, Amy's just like so cute. She's so girl, you know?
Yeah, she's so girl.
Like
that is the perfect really description.
She's just like a glittery princess, and I love that for her. I love just like the unbridled femininity. It was really cute. The wedding was, there were fairies in costume who opened the gates to let Amy down the aisle. There were oversized like flowers, like fake plastic flowers with butterflies in them as the centerpieces. Yeah. The whole backdrop of the altar was just pink. It was so cute. I love that Johnny was like, yes, this is my wedding.
I know. That's what I really like about Johnny. He's just like, he's all for Amy.
Yeah. I love Amy. She's adorable. But yeah, the wedding was sweet. She was walked down the aisle by her dad and her brother. Yeah. Which was really sweet. It was the first time we meet her brother. She's talked about him before. Yeah. That was really sweet to see. And yeah, just beautiful. They both said I do. Lots of love.
So unpredictable.
Yeah, truly. I know.
Who could have guessed?
They were really just rock solid. That's why they had to show us the birth control debate too, because it was like the only slight tiff that they had. Yeah. They're so cute together. I'm sure they're doing great now. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
That's all. We finished the whole recap. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that Bliss and Zach are having a baby?
I did. Yeah. One of my favorite couples.
Same. Yeah. My faves are probably them, Lauren and Cameron, and like Brett and Tiffany, I think.
Yeah.
Again, like the actual love stories. Amy and Johnny could have been included in those ranks, but they're just unfortunately forgettable. Yeah. I don't think it's their fault.
Well, okay. We can agree to disagree there.
I don't. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah, thank you so much for following us along on this recap.
Yeah, thanks for coming with us on this journey. Yes. Let us know if there are any more reality TV shows that you'd like us to recap. Again, I watch all of them, every single one. So
I can start.
Yeah, Bachelor is almost over, unfortunately. But when Bachelorette rolls around,
let me know.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
And I hope you have a great night.
I hope you dream of love.
Yes. Should we
blindly?
Oh, blindly?
Uh-huh.
The way you said that.
I tried. Okay.
Well, should we tuck them in?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Good night, everybody. Sleep tight.
And don't let the bed bugs bite.
Don't let the bed bugs bite. Bye.
Bye.
He actually sniffed into the mic this time. He did. It was